Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so very much for joining us to learn about a very unique and powerful immersion experience for a group of 12 women, just 12 women who are at a pivot point. These are for women who are looking at what's next. They are at a chapter point. They're looking ahead, asking the question, what would my life look like if I stop performing and start being this present? So, welcome. We're so glad you're here. And without further ado, let us dive in. So, who is this immersion for? And we'll talk a little bit about what this immersion is in just a moment. This immersion, like I said, is for women at a pivot point. So it might be at a point of a career shift. So perhaps you just left a job. Perhaps you're looking at changing your job. Perhaps you maybe outgrew your job. Something has happened. Maybe you have changed roles. So this might be an empty nester. Maybe you just got married. Maybe you just got divorced. There's some kind of transition point that's going on. Maybe you're also at that point where you're asking yourself, I've always wanted to do that thing and I haven't done it yet. How do I go about doing this? I'm just about ready to go, but I'm not quite sure and a little uncertain. Or maybe you're just exhausted and you need a break. If any of this resonates, you are in the right place. This immersion, to be clear though, is not a conference. This is not a retreat, if you will. So, a traditional retreat you might experience being in a hotel ballroom. There might be a lot of theoretical frameworks that are discussed. It will feel like you're escaping your life for a temporary inspiration. So, there might be a flash, and then, oh, I feel inspired. Now I go home back to my regular life. It might also be a traditional retreat where you're networking, where there's a lot of the status quo, where there's a little bit of performing that you need to do. And at the end of the day, you're returning to the same reality where you just came from. A living classroom immersion, which is what we do here at the Servant Edge and what this immersion to Guatemala offers, is when we are in an ancient capital, when we were in a volcanic crater, when we're walking on cobblestone streets, when the environment is one of our teachers. At the Servant Edge, we believe that real transformation happens through direct experience. And that's what we're doing. We're interrupting your patterns, your routines long enough with enough of a container surrounding you to support you to make some fundamental lifelong shifts. You're going to be sitting with indigenous leaders. You're going to be sitting making tortillas. You're going to be doing other things that are powerful and consequential to who you are and where you want to go. And we are excited that when you come back, you're going to be returning with an accountability system and a Monday morning action plan. So, this is when you're going to be walking away, not just with, okay, that was a nice flash in the pan, but now showing up differently. Now looking ahead, thinking, I know what to do, and something consequential and fundamental has just shifted. So, taking a look at these 8 days and how this flows, we begin in Guatemala City. We're going to be staying at a lovely hotel. And this is when we first start to step out of the noise. This is when that moment shifts and the intentional opening and group connection really coalesces. We're going to move into the highlands and quite literally do some deconstruction. And that's going to be both literal and figuratively. And that will culminate in a sacred lake led by a Mayan woman that is not on the map. And she's going to be walking us through a ceremony that we're going to be preparing for, not just when we arrive, but long before we ever touch the ground in Guatemala. We'll then move into Antigua, which is a UNESCO heritage cultural site, an absolutely stunning, beautiful place. We'll be in a private hacienda. And that's where we're going to weave all this together and be taking care of what is going to happen next when we head home. So let me walk you through a little more detail about what you can expect. So, phase one, imagine this is a bit of the exhale, right? This is when you're going to be gathering and seeing in person for the first time a community of women that you have just spent the previous 60 days talking with, learning from, getting to know in a virtual circle, that now suddenly there you are together and it will feel like you've just met dear friends once again. It's a powerful moment as we come together as a community, set our intentions, and start to breathe again. Then we go into phase two, and this is the deep work. This is when we're in the highlands up in Quetzaltenango, which is also called Shela. And this is where we'll go to ancient ruins. We're going to be staying at a beautiful hotel walking distance from the downtown plaza in Shela. We're going to be unlearning some things and learning some things as we have direct engagement with the indigenous women in the community. And we'll be preparing with our spiritual elders as we talk through some of what's going on. And throughout this experience, you're going to be in intensive coaching, group coaching, there's optional one on one coaching. You're going to be with a community of women. We're going to be working through some engaging activities and talking through what's happening with a great deal of reflection. The sacred crater is a very important part of this journey. This is something that's an invitation only. We're going to be led, like I said, by a Mayan indigenous leader who's going to be taking us through an old ancient Mayan ceremony that I will tell you from firsthand direct experience is one of the most powerful things I've ever seen. And I have spent a lot of time overseas. This is an amazing moment that we're going to be having together. So, who's going to be leading us through this experience? What's going to be happening? The wisdom matrix, which is what we call, is really to talk about what happens in our next chapter. So here we have an example of some of the women that we're going to be meeting along this path. Sebastiana, she's our spiritual authority, is going to be taking us into the Laguna Chicabal. We're going to be talking to Flory, who's going to be working through with us around relational influence, where you're going to see a model of leadership that is about community development. She's also a mom who's living this daily, grounded, intensely relational opportunity and experience. We're going to meet Juana, who demonstrates and exudes this strength that honestly our Western frameworks don't have a language for. You're going to be talking to Norma, who's going to walk you through what systemic change looks like. And then Carolina, who is an amazing author, internationally acclaimed woman who leads an organization in Guatemala. And you'll have a chance to meet with her and see some of the incredible work we do. And then finally, phase three. After we've had this chance to meet with these women, encounter some experiences, you're going to be in Antigua where we're going to go through this collective leadership and learning. We're going to get our hands in flour. We're going to look at what coffee looks like and feels like. And we're going to have conversations in our hacienda talking about what's happening and what we're going to create moving forward. And all of this, what you can look at is this unwavering certainty around what's next. I'm at this pivot point in my life, as we mentioned at the beginning. So, what are the elements, that intentional pause, integrated with ancestral wisdom, integrated with structural coaching? This is a powerful combination that leads to some real transformational shifts. And what will you be walking away from? And this is important because we're going to be having this 60-day private women's circle, this absolutely catalytic experience in Guatemala together. And then we'll be walking through, when we go home, some new perspectives. What's just shown up for you? How can we make sure that we carry those forward into our lives when we get back into our daily routine? You're going to have an accountability system set up. So you suddenly will have a group of women around you who are going to hold a structured accountability system for you, tailored to what is going on for you in your life. You're going to have an action plan. What do you need to do Monday morning? What's going to happen the following week and the week after? And then finally, you're going to have this powerful group of women who are going to be standing by you for years to come. So I want to be clear that this is an ecosystem. You're not joining just a 8-day, 1 week period in Guatemala. You are joining an entire ecosystem that has a foundation, that has the catalyst, that has the integration, and then finally this community that will carry forward with you as you're moving along. I can't close this presentation without talking about some of the venues that we'll be in, and of course the nourishment. So Guatemala is quite famous in the region for its cuisine. We're going to be resting at beautiful hotels, well-appointed rooms. We're going to be in a private hacienda with walking distance into the Antigua UNESCO Heritage Site. We're going to be eating delectable dishes from around the country and its origin and its culture speaking to us through this. And your investment. So, something that's very important to us at the Servant Edge is that our participants feel like that when they walk in, when they get off that plane, they are taken care of and can focus on what it is that they need to do without thinking about, oh, what's covered, what's not covered, are there things I need to worry about? Did I need to pay for that? No. You get off that plane and you are taken care of until you get back on that plane. The only thing you might want to consider is if there are incidentals, if there's alcohol you want to purchase along the way. Those are the only things, but those are all separate costs that do not need to be covered. You are taken care of when you walk in. Your investment for a shared room is $59.57, and for a private room throughout this 8-day journey is only $64.57 with everything included. I can assure you this investment is quite a bit less than what you'd find comparably elsewhere. And I'll leave you with this thought. It was never about becoming someone new when you go through these experiences. It's truly about remembering who you are beneath the exhaustion, beneath the questions you're asking yourself, the expectations, that armor that we all put up every day, particularly as women, particularly at moments when we're trying to determine what is next. Thank you so very much for your attention. I'm going to turn it over to questions, but I'll stop the recording. Please reach out to us at the QR code below or at support@theservantedge.com. You can speak with me directly. I would like Olga, if I could, to say a quick hello to us. She is one of our guides. She's on the ground and a Guatemalan. Olga, would you kindly say hello to all of the listeners that are out there that will be receiving a recording and those of us on the call?
Sure. Thank you, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. I'm Olga, and I will be your local host here in Guatemala. We're really looking forward for this immersion experience and just happy that we will have you here.
Great. Thank you so very much. Appreciated. All right, we're going to stop the recording. Please reach out support@theservantedge.com. I look forward to seeing you in Guatemala.